Welcome to the webinar. I'm Beatrice Lam, the Field Marketing Manager for Barracuda MSP APAC. On the other line, we've got Matt Caffrey, who is our sales engineer, and he'll be taking you through the presentation today. Before we start, just a couple of housekeeping. If you have any questions, please type them into the question panel and we'll cover them at the end. Also, stay tuned till the end as we will be announcing the special offers we're running this month after the Q&A. This session should take about 15 to 20 minutes or so. So let's get started. Matt, could you please take us through the first step, how to use Barracuda Essentials to safeguard against evolving email-borne threats? I'll pass it to you now. Thank you.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Beatrice, and welcome everyone to today's webinar. So we're going to start with the gateway defense by Barracuda called Barracuda Essentials. Essentials is a compatible offering with Office 365 as well as on-prem and hybrid configurations. Its main job is to provide an additional layer of security to add to the native features of Office 365 and also Exchange. Essentials is a suite of tools that provides a comprehensive security like sandboxing, archiving, and backup to give you more features than you'll ever be able to reach with traditional Microsoft Server email platforms. We do have email tools that can help you alongside email security in the form of ESS, and that is called an email threat scan. Here are some of the statistics out of our email threat scan service. So we've scanned over 9.5 million email, and around 86% of the accounts had at least one threat in them. And then on average, we're looking at about 125 threats per account across our scans, and that just keeps on evolving over time. Now, the technology that's used is an Office 365 API where we reach in and then we do a retrospective scan on the tenant and then give you a nice report of what individual users are at risk, and then also the posture of that domain in terms of DMARC standard. To obtain that access, recommend going to barracudamsp.com/free scan to then start your scan of your tenant or any tenant that's within Office 365, to then perhaps use that as a tool to enable you to go out and talk about email threats that are of a spear phishing flavor.
Thank you, Matt. That brings us to step number 2. Could you please explain why is it important for MSP to use both Sentinel and Essentials together?
Thank you, Beatrice. As you can see here on my window now, we have email security in the form of ESS. So ESS is your traditional email gateway. Now, we protect domains via an MX record and then filter those mail messages through our message log, where you can identify threats that have been detected as blocked or as quarantine, and then in turn as allowed. So we can see here, these ones here have been blocked due to reputation list and alike. We also have our ATP log, which then goes through and scans the files that are marked as attachments within inside that tenant, and then run checks against those. If it is infected, we'll give you a report for the infection and what is outlined on that, and then in turn we can detonate those infected files. Anything that's cleaned, a hash is formed, and then we can go off the basis of that. On our inbound settings, we have our own custom RBLs that are set in here. You can add your own RBLs. We can rate control, so anything that's coming from an IP address over a 30-minute period, we can rate control on a number of emails that are coming from that. And then the things that we would see here that integrate into forensics and incident response is done under the sender policies. You can see that here it's tied in from an incident that was lodged here on the 3rd of February. Now to take you through Sentinel. So Sentinel is the AI-based spear phishing detection engine. It is able to remedy spear phishing emails that are intercepted at real time via the API, and there's no requirement to change MX records as we're looking with inside that tenant. So if there's anything that is transacting between user to user with inside that tenant, we can also scan that. The traditional gateway won't be able to do that, mainly because we're bound by mail going inside and outside of that organization. And in the case of internal emails, they don't pass that way via the MX record. So the remediation options under recommendation from Barracuda is to send that to junk mail. We can also delete it as well, and then we can send a customized alert to those end users for the action that's been taken, which is great to have as a value add to a customer where they may have thousands of emails per day that are getting blocked by their spam system, but they don't necessarily see that. It also enables them to be trained in such a way to be more vigilant of these types of attacks, and then your security team will be able to receive an email of that attack as well. So you can see here inside the email, we are able to look at what has been detected, and we have been given the analysis up the top here, and also the message headers if you wish to bring those across, and then review them. As part of Sentinel, we also have an account takeover. So if there's anything that's in terms of a suspicious sign-in or a suspicious inbox rule or a mail message that has been circulated throughout the organization, we're able to review those and remedy them within a number of steps. So we can detect and then probe for that mail message, and then clean up that mail message with inside that tenant, either delete it or send it to the junk mail, and then send out an alert to those end users. For those people that are external of the organization, we're able to send out an email crafted from that individual that has the jeopardized account, and then in turn ask them to delete that mail message. We then integrate that into a report, and we can send that to your help desk. From the beginning of that process, there's only one thing that you have to do in Office 365, and that is to sign into the account and then stop the sessions, and then also disable sign-in access. And what is highly recommended is obviously change that password and then enable multi-factor authentication on that account. We do have a domain fraud analyzer, so we can review misalignment to the DMARC standard for SPS and also DKIM. So we can investigate those misalignments here and then remedy those issues. With this, it will give you a much more visibility to an organization where perhaps MailChimp is being set up by a marketing team inside the organization and hasn't brought it to IT's attention. So it's great to have that conversation with your partners around keeping your finger on the pulse there. So yeah, it's definitely a nice one to have. So securing the gateway is obviously necessary, as I'd mentioned before, but no longer sufficient. In the early 2000s, the network perimeter collapsed, and it became important to secure data wherever it belonged on the network. We're at the same point here for email security. Securing the gateway is still necessary, but threats have moved beyond the gateway, and it's no longer sufficient. Now let's look at the anti-fraud protection layer, Barracuda Sentinel. So today's inbound mail goes through a number of filters that make up your email security solution. They include checking reputation for domain or sender, relying on blacklists, These also include filters, looking for spam or malware. Your email security may even use techniques like URL protection to detect malicious links, or heuristics analysis to identify malicious content with the email. ATP features, which are now standard for most email security, will do a great job at protecting you against those 0-day or 0-hour attacks for those types of encryption type malwares. Gateway only sees that email comes through the external sender and has no visibility to the internal sender communication, as I'd mentioned before. This makes it impossible for IT to identify internal attacks that are launched from compromised accounts, and they rely on static rules to be assigned to identify malicious email. These techniques are not effective against social engineering attacks that are designed to bypass gateways. They carry no malicious payload, originate from a high reputation sender, so therefore SPFs in alignment and alike, to trick their victims to get inside that organization with what appears to be a legitimate email. I know that your technicians will love it. Deploying is very straightforward. There is an API directly linking Sentinel to Office 365, as I'd mentioned. From there, it goes to work on the Office 365 tenant. The AI is designed to work on contextualizing email content that will bypass the traditional scanners, as I'd mentioned. These emails usually do not have a malicious link or common spam identifiers. These types of emails normally are in plain text and generally impersonating C-level or accounts employees to gather information and use that to form a story that could result in a desired outcome for the attacker. These emails are then remedied in real time by Sentinel.
Great, thank you for that. Sounds like Sentinel and Essentials are great together to combat these evolving email-borne threats. Matt, are there anything else that our MSP can do to enhance their email security offerings other than the things that you already mentioned?
Thanks, Beatrice. I can explain in the next slide. So how can Barracuda Forensics and Incident Response help? Your users will continue to report incidents as they come in addition to that you can also use insights from forensics and incident response to find anomalies in delivered email and speed up your own investigations. For example, admins can access a visual report that shows where the email is coming from, what country it originates from. If most of their business comes from Australia and they notice a couple of emails originating from Africa, they can then quickly review and determine if the email is legitimate. Once the malicious email is identified, admins can then use Barracuda to quickly search through their mail servers to identify other messages from the same sender with the same subject line. The search will return associated emails and users that have received them. This only takes a few seconds and saves a lot of valuable time for your technicians, which could be hours upon hours. Once all the malicious emails have been identified, admins can create incidents and move to remediation. Remediation is very fast. With a couple of clicks, admins can automatically send alerts to all impact users and quarantine messages directly from the user's inbox, as you can see here in the illustration. So within forensics and incident response, we can automate that response, as I talked about, assess the threats via the insights that we have, and then identify anomalies within that email system, find those users that have clicked on those alerts, quarantine the mail messages from the user's inbox, and then respond to that incident in an efficient and reliable way. Whereas I have had reports from users and also my own experience working within MSPs that this can take hours or even days to fully identify what is what has happened within this incident. So looking over the Barracuda portfolio within email security, we can see that we have a layered approach. So you've got your Office 365 G Suite or Exchange on-prem mail service. It has a resiliency layer, which is Barracuda Essentials, and also the gateway defense. We've got our AI inbox defense, which is Barracuda Sentinel. And then on top of that, we layer Barracuda Fishline to turn your end users from a liability into a trained asset. Barracuda Fishline is a managed service for Barracuda MSP, so we're able to do all the heavy lifting for you. That heavy lifting would be creating and designing campaigns and then sending you those reports. You just need to supply a list of end users that you wish to target, and then we'll do all the rest for you. And remember, securing more than just the gateway is where we need to be at in our global environment around email security. I'll pass it on to B if you have any questions.
Thank you, Matt, for that. So it is Q&A time. So I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to type in any question that you may have. And I think we've got a couple coming in already. Matt, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Thanks, B.
Cool. So the first question is from Tom. So his question is, for the email threat scanner, is there a limit on how many tenants we can scan?
There's no limit at all in terms of the tenants that you can scan within Office 365. It's a free service. So yeah, just scan every single client if you wish, just to see where the holes are inside your email security there.
Great. And let me see. Great. We have a second question from Adam. How long does the email sit in quarantine in Sentinel?
So the remediation action of the detected mail message within Sentinel is either moved to junk mail, or it could be deleted from the person's mailbox, or also left within inside their actual inbox. So we don't have a quarantine system as such, but it's sent to junk mail by default.
Great. And we've got another question from Nadine. He's asking, what's the difference between Barracuda from other vendors like Proofpoint? Yeah, so
we could take you through a demo there, Nadine, in regards to that, and we can have a look at the features and pin them against each other. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And we've got the final questions. Can you set up a rule in Sentinel to automatically remove types of malicious emails?
Yeah, so in terms of Sentinel in general, that's going to be leveraging the AI within it. So that's constantly evolving depending on the sending and receiving habits of the individual users. The static assignments that you can put in it, you can actually whitelist a domain within inside Sentinel. So that's where it will lay. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Matt. And let me just double check. Great. Cool. That's all the questions that we have for today.
Great.
So,
thank you.
as promised, we will announce the special offer we're running this month. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes. Yeah, that's all good.
Cool. So for everyone on the call today, we're running 2 special offers in February. The first one is if you sign any new contracts with Barracuda MSP, you'll get up to 2 months free. And the second offer we're running is you get 12 months free on our forensic and incident response product when you buy Essential and Sentinel together. So these two offers are only valid for this month. If you're interested in this offer, just reach out to us. And I've got the links as well on the screen. You can head to the link to read a bit more in details. The terms and conditions are also there. So these are some of the links to some of the resources to help you grow your business. We've got the barracudamsp.com. You can find lots of ebooks, webinar, and reports there. And I'll also recommend you to subscribe to our Smarter MSP blog as well. We've got heaps of relevant content for you guys to help you get inspired and just find ways to grow your business. On that note, I'll wrap everything up. Thank you so much for attending the webinar, and thank you, Matt, for presenting. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, everyone.